Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we love talking about conservation. We're honored to be with Jackson Lundy, Conservation Project Manager with the Land Trust for Tennessee. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Absolutely. So we get to talk about the statewide efforts, and let's go ahead and start with a little bit of history and some context. Give us a little bit of history for the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm with the Land Trust for Tennessee, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit with offices in Nashville and Chattanooga. And we were founded in 1999 to kind of fill a void that the state of Tennessee had. So we are a land trust, and our vision is really to protect irreplaceable landscapes across our state for future generations to enjoy. You know, anyone that's been in Middle Tennessee for a while now has seen our state change, and some of those places we think should be around for others to enjoy into the future. So that's kind of where we started, 1999. So we're coming up on our 25th year next year, which is exciting. And to date, we've protected over 136,000 acres across the state of Tennessee, everywhere from Shelby County down Memphis, all the way to Mountain City in the northeast corner of our state. So our impact isn't just locally in Middle Tennessee, it's felt everywhere throughout the state. But we did really start in Middle Tennessee because that's where the growth in our state really kind of started to take off. But now it's everywhere, as many of your listeners certainly see every day.
Absolutely. And so it's that fine balance of growth and development versus conservation. And like you said, making sure that future generations can access and enjoy our natural environment. And so we'll talk about all the things you do. I do want to start, though, with a strategic plan, because I think this is something that's very different in terms of what Tennessee and you all have led versus what other states have done. And so talk about the strategic plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, a lot of land trusts mean different things. There are over 1,500 land trusts across the country. Most of them focus on smaller areas than an entire state, maybe a county or a town. So we found ourselves in a very unique position where there are only a few like us that operate in a vast area. And for many years, we were just kind of returning phone calls, seeing what fruit came to us. But we really, in 2018, and I have a copy of it right here, we created a strategic conservation plan that really incorporated a lot of data, spatial data about different properties, regions, growth trends, where places are being heavily developed, where they're projected to be heavily developed. And we came up with a more proactive plan that kind of guides our work and where we want to be. So we know that we want to focus, and we have 10 specific regions. We call them conservation opportunity regions throughout the state, where we know we want to really focus our outreach and events to really make sure the people in those communities know that we're a resource, and conservation of their property is something that they're interested in. So we're trying to be more proactive to really hit the spots that have the most conservation values and those that are threatened. Because we're a donor-funded nonprofit, and we want to be responsible in using our donor dollars to make sure that those individuals that contribute and support us are getting the most return on their donation in terms of conservation.
We'll talk specifically about some of the areas you all protect and have protected. Let's talk about how you all work with landowners and really kind of what you do. Like let's go ahead and dive into the details on how you do it, but talk about how you work with the landowners, with the easements and the protection piece. Talk about the different ways that you protect the environment. I guess let's start there.
Yeah, we can easily start there. So The nuts and bolts, most of our protected properties, I mentioned 136,000 acres. Most of those projects are with private landowners that voluntarily want to see that their family farm, family forest is never vastly changed into the future. And the way we do that is what's called a conservation easement. It's a legal agreement that goes with the deed to a property forever. Perpetuity is kind of our big word. We don't know what forever means, but that's what we're in the business of. And those easements allow a landowner to continue owning the property. They can pass it on to their heirs. They can freely sell the property, but it places restrictions on what can and cannot be done. So usually a property can't be divided off into small lots. Our state actually ranks in a category you don't want to rank high. We are the third as a state of conversion of agricultural land to like low density residential. So we're losing a lot of farmland, and a conservation easement can make sure a family still owns it, they operate it, they still are the landowners on day-to-day operations, but it places restrictions so they know it's always going to be a farm forest forever. And that's how probably 3/4 of our projects are done, are with private landowners and conservation easements. From time to time, we also help assist states and local state parks, local counties, municipalities protect parkland. So some big notable ones in Middle Tennessee, Radnor Lake, we've helped the state acquire or conserve properties around Radnor Lake that then become part of the park in the future. In Memphis, Shelby Farms Park, huge park, 4,000 plus acres. We hold a conservation easement on that with the county. And that way they know it's always going to be a park. And we kind of work together to make sure the easement's being upheld. But people in those communities have places to go because not everyone's a landowner. So those are kind of the two facets that we work in, but mainly private conservation easements.
Touch on with conservation easements, some of the regulations. I mean, you kind of mentioned perpetuity, obviously, but there are things like an annual check-in. Give a little bit more detail on that side.
Yeah, so that's really the easement is just the start. We sign the paperwork, negotiate the paperwork with the landowner, but our promise is forever, like I said. So every year that we have a conservation easement, we have a whole dedicated stewardship staff. They go out, meet with the landowner, let them know we're coming out, and we maintain a relationship. And the way I see it, it's a relationship with the piece of property, the current landowner, and the land trust. And we kind of make sure everyone's following the easement, see if they have questions, if they have plans. We'll say if it's an approved plan or just kind of be aware of what's going on. And that's how we really protect things long term, is maintaining that relationship.
When you look at the balance, and like we were talking about, you've got the growth and the development side, which is good for the cities and the economic piece and workforce development, job creation, all of those. At the same time, though, like you said, we've got to be able to enjoy our parks and recreation and natural habitat and environment, and for the ecosystem, for the animals. I mean, there's a huge piece of looking forward to protect the environment. Talk about kind of that balance, and it goes back to the strategic plan, but just, harmony, finding balance. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very important thing. It's important to note that the land trust is not anti-growth or housing. I mean, we really want to think about where places are correct for a certain land use. Every time we look at a new project, we look at it through the eyes of what conservation values are there. And if they're not robust, maybe it is a place that could be utilized for some kind of growth initiative. So we really want to make sure that all of the properties we protect really have those robust values that are worth setting aside and making sure it's never used for anything else. So it is a balancing act. And that's an important piece of what we do, is making sure we really are protecting places that should be protected.
I know it's impossible. You can't pick your favorite child. You can't pick your favorite, area that you've conserved. But give us, you mentioned Shelby Farms. Give us a couple of your favorite places when you think about like, the public enjoying the access. What are a couple of highlights from your personal vantage point?
Yeah. So for public properties, I think one that's really robust that a lot of people know about, but they might not know that the land trust is involved, is Harlansdale Farm, right north of downtown Franklin. It's 200 acres, right in a tremendous growth area. It points to the past of that county, and it's an event space that everyone can really use. So I think that's kind of a great showcase of what the land trust is all about. Private properties, I mean, I love Robertson County, rolling farmland. We have dozens of easements just north of Nashville. And that's a beautiful area that I feel like is so close to town. And it's one of the best kind of regions in our state for agriculture. So I think it's beautiful on its own merits. Just driving around there, it's a sense almost going back in time sometimes if you hit the right street.
For a landowner who says a conservation easement, that sounds really like a path I want to go down.
Yeah.
What do they need to do as a next step? How does that work?
So the first thing I would encourage any landowner to do is visit our website, and there are some documents on there that kind of help a landowner think through what a land trust is, what a conservation easement is. For many folks, when I talk with them, it's the first they've really ever heard of it. So it's a new kind of intriguing concept, but we want to make sure it's right for everyone. And then once they've done that, I love talking with landowners. And a lot of the times it goes nowhere, but that's okay. I love to educate people on what could be available to them. So I would encourage anyone that's interested to check out our website, and don't hesitate to make that first phone call.
Talk about events. How can the community support your efforts? You mentioned obviously the financial contributions are huge to support you all as a nonprofit, but talk about the events and different ways the community can plug in.
Yeah, so there are a few different ways. One of the biggest is actually where I'm sitting. So I'm sitting at Glenlevin Farm, which is just a few miles south of downtown Nashville. It's a 64-acre farm that was left to the land trust, really with the stipulation that we would use it very much like any of our conservation easement properties. So we have our office here, and we have a trail, an education garden, a few donkeys. That's always a favorite for the kids. We have an arboretum. We do historic tours, walking tours. Once a month, we have an open day. I think the next one is coming up on, I want to say November 4th, but you can check it out on our website or social media, where we encourage the public to come and kind of see a place like this. I mean, we are 3 miles from something that looks remotely different from what I see out my window. And I think this is really a showcase of what our organization is trying to conserve across the state. So I would really encourage people to come out and visit Glenlevin. From time to time, we have stewardship days here where people can help kind of us with the property we manage, which I think is always a great way to kind of get your hands dirty, see something different. And then we have events during the year. One of our biggest is coming up. It's once in a blue moon, fundraising events where people can kind of get to know us, understand the organization, and really see what we're all about. Also, from time to time, we have volunteer opportunities for monitoring. So that annual stewardship piece, we sometimes take volunteers. If someone's really interested in what we do on the day-to-day, there can be opportunities for that.
And I think that's the key is, enjoying it, learning about it, getting plugged in.
Yep.
So following that easy path, literally the path. Talk about website, social media. Where can we go to take the next steps to get involved?
Yeah, so definitely landtrusttn.org. That's going to link you to all of our social media accounts. We're active on Facebook and Instagram. We publish protected properties when we work with a landowner, and so you can really see what we do on the ground, our kind of day to day. We also post about those volunteer opportunities, open days at the farm. So those are great ways to reach out. But I would start with our website where you can really learn everything we do. Also, we have an interactive map, kind of like the one behind me, where you can really see all of our projects because 136,000 acres is kind of obscure when I just say a number, but you can really plug in and see where we work. We work in over 72 of the 95 counties, so we're almost everywhere. We're getting there. So people can really see how it impacts their local community too. So our website would be the place to start.
Website again, landtrusttn.org. So landtrusttn.org. Jackson, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.